Victim of the Beast. Lily E. Gray has been dead for more than half of a century, yet precisely who she was and the weird inscription on her grave continues to baffle researchers to this day. In the Salt Lake City Cemetery, Lillian Lily E. Gray has become an enduring local mystery and something of an urban legend to generations of Utah teenagers. She is said to have been born in Canada on June 6, 1881. But even that's up for debate. Nevertheless, when the elderly woman died from natural causes on November 14, 1958, her grave was marked by a simple stone inscribed with the ominous words, "Victim of the Beast 666. But why? Several theories have sought to answer this question, though none have completely managed to put the mystery to bed. One of the more probable hypotheses comes from Rachel Hawkes, whose examination of Lily's husband, Elmer L. Gray, reveals a character with a colorful and oddly mysterious past. Hawkes found that after Elmer had been arrested for stealing an umbrella, a Utah State Board of Pardons documented notes of him requesting that his parole be terminated. When asked by the Board of Pardons for the full name under which he was serving, Gray wrote, "Woodrow Lamb, a bum." For the address of his parents, Elmer responded, "Both dead, died of grief when kidnappers murdered my wife." He then referred to the police and prison officials as Democratic officials and kidnappers. The wife he referred to was his first wife, who died apparently before Elmer Gray married Lily. But as Hawkes pointed out in her article, whatever the real circumstances of these family deaths, it can be concluded that Elmer Gray blamed the law for the death of his precious wife and clearly considered her a victim. Elmer Gray's view of the government and law is clear: a criminal, evil organization hell-bent on kidnapping, imprisoning, and murdering innocent civilians without any cause or provocation. With all the conspiracy, anti-government, and victimization within, it is difficult and perhaps foolish not to come to one conclusion: that Elmer L. Gray was responsible for placing the outrageous phrase "Victim of the Beast 666" on his second wife Lily's gravestone. And it's certainly a very compelling mystery, and Hawkes' theory, according to someone at the Salt Lake Free Press, offers to be the most plausible explanation to date. Even so, there's no getting away from that chilling vision of satanic ritual and demonic possession that such a foreboding inscription inevitably conjures. Until we know for sure, Lily E. Gray and the precise meaning of that inscription on her grave will remain an enigma. Skinwalker Ranch. The Skinwalker Ranch is a very weird place, located near Ballard, Utah. It's long been the source of tales, including monsters, spaceships, and other bizarre phenomenon. Native Americans in the area believe the ranch is plagued by an evil creature known as a skinwalker, while others claim to have seen UFOs, crop circles, and other unexplainable sights. The Sherman family, who had lived there for about 2 years, claimed that a number of their cows were mutilated. One such cow had no sign of injury, not even bleeding, other than a hole bored through its eye. Other cows were found sliced up, with organs or other body parts carefully removed. In each case, the Shermans found no blood. A number of other cows, as well as 6 cats, vanished without a trace. Ranch dogs, meanwhile, were fearful of an unknown presence. Poltergeist activity was also reported by the Sherman family shortly after their run-in with what they called a bulletproof werewolf. According to a segment on Coast to Coast AM, a paranormal radio news program, one of the Sherman clan stated that she often came home with groceries, unpacked them, then later discovered all the food repacked back into shopping bags. The family also reported missing objects and moved objects, such as hairbrushes that would be found in the freezer when it was last seen on a bathroom countertop. The Shermans also heard voices in a language that they could not understand and spotted shadows within the house. Some Skinwalker conspiracies suggest that the government made contact with extraterrestrials and is trying to cover everything up. Other theories assert that the ranch is home to a portal similar to a hellmouth, which allows for interdimensional travel. The Devil's Highway. The highway system, originally named Route 666 and nicknamed the Devil's Highway, crossed through an area of the United States known as the Four Corners, the meeting space of Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah. All 4 states have reported paranormal experiences while on this stretch of highway. Tales range from hellhounds chasing alongside the car and slashing tires, to skinwalkers shifting from animal to man before their very eyes. Even an evil shaman who appears in the back seat to steal the driver's soul. Like many roads, Highway 666 also hosts a ghostly hitchhiker. A mysterious young woman in a white nightgown, walking the road alone. When someone tries to offer her a ride, she vanishes. A popular legend attached to the Devil's Highway is that of a mad trucker, a phantom semi-truck that terrorizes late-night drivers before disappearing. One witness, author Linda Dunning, reported her husband's experience. Allegedly, while he was driving on Route 666 one night, a semi-truck began heading straight for him down the middle of the highway. He said the truck had to have been going at least 130 miles an hour, with sparks and flames flying up around the wheels. He pulled off the road in time to miss what he thought would be a fiery collision, and the beast of a vehicle took off into the night. Bear Lake Monster. For centuries, the legend of Bear Lake Monster has been told among residents and travelers to Bear Lake. The Desert News ran a story on the monster as early as July 31st, 1868. The Native Americans have a tradition concerning a strange serpent-like creature inhabiting the waters of Bear Lake, which they say carried off some of their brave many moons ago. Since then, they will not sleep close to that lake, neither will they swim in it, or let their squaws and papooses bathe in it. Many honorable people have claimed to have seen this Bear Lake monster, including John Taylor, former president of the LDS, Latter-day Saints Church. The origins of the Bear Lake Monster go back to a series of articles written by Joseph C. Rich, a Mormon colonizer at Bear Lake. His articles in the news claimed several upstanding citizens, but not Rich himself, had seen the creature. However, in 1888, He recanted the story, saying that he had made up the monster. Like any good ad campaign, the creature may have been created to boost tourism. Rich owned the first general store in Bear Lake County. The description of the monster is always similar. A creature with brown-colored body, somewhat bigger in circumference than a man, anywhere from 40 to 200 feet long, its head shaped like a walrus without tusks, or like an alligator's. They say the eyes were very large and about a foot apart. It had ears like branches and about the size of a pint cup. It had an unknown number of legs, since it was only seen in the water. Where is it said to have come from? Well, in 1874, a traveler named John Goodman came through Bear Lake Valley, and he described an Indian legend about two lovers whom, upon being pursued by some of their fellow tribesmen, plunged into the lake and were changed by a great spirit into two large serpents. The Legend of John Baptist. John Baptist was one of the first grave diggers ever employed in Salt Lake City in the late 1800s. He lived in a 2-room house with a lean-to at the corner of K Street and Temple, and was believed to be well off and lived comfortably. He was also known to be a hard worker and punctual, always carrying out his appointed duties at the city cemetery. He was a quiet fellow, though, and had very few friends, so most people never paid much attention to him as he went about his work. About 3 years after Baptist came to work for the city, a man died in Salt Lake City and was, of course, buried by the gravedigger at the local cemetery. A short time later, the man's brother came to Utah from the east. He was not familiar with the Mormon religion as his brother had been, and wished to have his sibling return to the east, to be buried in the family plot. His wish was granted and the grave was uncovered. The casket was pried open and the corpse inside was discovered to be nude and laying in the coffin face down, as though it had just been dumped there. Needless to say that the brother was outraged and the city officials began an immediate investigation. The investigation focused on, of course, John Baptist, and several men were assigned to keep him and the cemetery under surveillance. Soon after another burial, Baptist was seen pushing a wheelbarrow from a nearby storage shed to the freshly opened grave. Authorities stopped him and found a pile of clothing hidden in the bushes. The corpse had been removed from the grave, his clothing removed, and was now being moved from the storage shed to the wheelbarrow. Baptist was arrested and his home was searched. His house was filled with clothing. He had used some of it for drapes and furniture covers, and in the cellar, a large vat was placed for boiling the clothes of the dead. The news spread, and local citizens descended on the cemetery to check out their deceased loved ones. Authorities believe that he had stolen clothing from up to 350 corpses. All of the clothing from Bastille's home was taken to City Hall for identification by relatives. They also went to secondhand stores, as they were learned the gravedigger had sold large amounts of jewelry for cash. And what became of Baptist? He was tried and convicted of grave robbery, was branded with a hot iron and exiled to an island in the Great Salt Lake, northwest of the city. There's been some dispute as to where he was sent, either to Barren, Fairmont Island, or larger Antelope Island. Regardless, he was pushed there, never to return to Salt Lake City again. But that wasn't the end. A few weeks later, a lawman returned into the island to check on the prisoner. only to discover that he had completely vanished. A search discovered the remains of a fire and a small shelter, but no John. Some believe that he may have taken his own life, and others think that he built a raft and escaped. But no matter, he is never heard from again. Or was he? It's been said that he still haunts the shores and beaches of the lake today. The stories claim that he has been seen walking along the water's edge, clutching in his hands a bundle of wet, rotted clothing. I hope you ghouls enjoyed these Utah urban legends. I really like these ones. These ones are really interesting. I like the lake monster. I don't know why lake monsters are just like my jam. Like, I was obsessed with the Loch Ness Monster for a hot minute in high school. And I did so much freaking research on it and about how, like, there's, like, an underwater channel. And they're like, oh, it's totally possible for, like, a large prehistoric underwater dinosaur to swim back and forth between the ocean and here in this lake. And it brought back memories of that, which was fun. And yeah, I really like these. These were really interesting. Utah got some good stuff going on there, urban legend wise. Are you guys from Utah? Let me know if I did your state justice. And as always, the last video will be on the top left. The next video will be on the bottom left. All my social medias are on the screen, as well as in the description box below. And remember, there's always someone or something watching you.